Doogh or natural yogurt soda is an Iranian drink that is usually consumed in summer. This is my twist of a traditional recipe for making dough that produces CO2 through a two-stage fermentation. First with the grain and second with the yogurt. It is natural, fizzy, and perfect to accompany kebabs. For sourdough lovers, dough is an ideal starter to make it a sourdough starter, which I'll show you how at the end of the video. The typical grain to use is bulgur, and I did manage to buy some. Interestingly, it's not effective. So after trying some brown rice, buckwheat, and oatmeal, I find none of these have worked. But oatmeal produces results, and a pretty good one. So this recipe calls for raw oatmeal. Weigh 2 tablespoons of oatmeal, transfer to a sieve, and rinse under the tap water till the water comes out clear. If your local tap water is high in chlorine, please use bottled water instead to wash it. Drain well. Then transfer the oatmeal to a 1 cup jam jar, add 227 ml or 8 ounces of filtered water, and give it a good mix. The starting pH shows 7.04. This is for my own reference. Your water can be different. Cover with a coffee filter and tie with a rubber band, and just leave it somewhere safe in the kitchen. I usually put it in the proofing machine as I know it won't be knocked over. From now on, stir every 12 hours. At the time of making, the temperature in my kitchen ranges from 26 to 28 degrees Celsius. After 12 hours, if you look closely, there are already some tiny bubbles formed on the top. The bubbles will be an important factor to judge the fermentation in the future, so do pay attention to them. Give it a good stir, cover it with a coffee filter, and then leave it at the same place to continue fermenting. After 24 hours, it looks quite different, isn't it? There's a layer of bubbles floating and it starts to smell like fermentation. I can also hear the light sizzle when stirring, which means there is quite some gas that has built overnight. This time after stirring, a few grains have risen to the top, and this will be another factor to judge the fermentation. After 48 hours, the layer of bubbles has become thicker. If swirled in the jar a bit, I can hear clear sizzles. And when stirring, more gas is escaping, and I feel it's louder than 12 hours ago. This time, quite some more grains have floated to the top. This is a sign that it's a healthy fermentation. Note that the liquid has become quite cloudy. At the end of day 3, I can still see a layer of bubbles. However, it's kind of thin and hardly covers the whole surface. It still sizzles when stirring, and even more grains have floated to the top. This time, I noticed there is some sediment at the bottom, which is a sign that the liquid has turned quite acidic. However, pH now shows 4.22. Seems it needs a bit more time, but I think it'll be ready soon. Another 8 hours later, no layer of bubbles, but just some at the edge of the center. Some fading sizzles when stirring. pH now shows 3.92. So it's time to enter the second fermentation, and it's quite simple. To prepare, I already made a batch of yogurt the night before. In a big bowl, weigh 908 grams or 2 pounds of yogurt. And carefully microwave it on medium for a few minutes till the temperature registers about 30 degrees Celsius. A couple of degree difference is no big deal. Directly to the yogurt, drain oatmeal liquid through a sieve. Add 2 teaspoons of sea salt and 1 tablespoon of fine sugar. Mix thoroughly till all sugar and salt crystals are dissolved. Then transfer to your bottle of choice. Compared to the glass bottles, I prefer to use recycled plastic bottles as it's easier to test the doneness and they're not at risk of exploding during the fermentation. When transferring, better to leave about 5 centimeters or 2 inches to the top. Screw the lid tight and give it a good shake. Right now, if you press or squeeze the bottle, it yields easily. Now leave the bottle at the counter to ferment. Shake whenever you can, but at least every 12 hours. As it ferments, you will see the separation of fat and liquid like this. And it's normal. Just shake the bottle and it'll become homogeneous again. The fermentation process will produce tons of carbon dioxide, which is your natural fizzy. After some days, you will feel the bottles are plumped up and don't yield when pressing. Also, the cap bulges, all of which means it's ready to be consumed. This batch took 3 days, but it could take up to 10 or even 14 days. This one took about 5 days. The one in the middle is 8 days old and still a bit squeaky. I guess it will need another couple of days. And this one is on the 4th day, but it feels like nothing has happened. Do chill the bottle in the refrigerator for 24 hours before opening. Also, resist the urge of shaking the bottle because the fat floats. Otherwise, you'll experience something like this. Whoa. Not only no fun, but also a waste. This one has been chilled for a day, and opening is no hassle. When serving, don't serve full, but leave some space to the top. The traditional way is to add some cumin powder and a bunch of minced mince. Then mix well. This is why I said don't serve the glass full. The drink has a risk of overflowing. If fermented right, it should taste tangy but not too sour. It also has a hiding fermentation flavor, but only those who are very sensitive to alcohol may be able to detect it. The fizzy, cumin, and mint are a good combination, altogether canceling out the richness of kebabs. You can also use this as a starter to make the next batch of dough. To fill a 400 ml bottle, combine 55 grams of dough, 220 grams yogurt, 55 grams water, half teaspoons of sea salt, and half tablespoons of sugar. Mix till the crystals are dissolved. Then transfer to the plastic bottle. Give it a good shake, and then ferment at the counter till it's hard to press. For bread lovers, dough can also be used to make a sourdough starter. In a measuring cup, add 80 grams of bread flour, 50 grams of dough, and 8 grams of white sugar. Use a stick to mix. Then transfer to the counter to knead into a ball, and put it back into the cup. Press to flatten the dough and cover. After 12 to 15 hours, the starter will triple in size, and it's ready to be used. The fresh dough also makes strong starters that can be applied directly to the auto-listed dough. Just use your routine bread recipes and bake as usual. The dough kept in the refrigerator will be active for at least 3 weeks. After 2 weeks, if it starts to get a little weak, just feed the starter twice and it'll be full of life again. Oh, FYI, the starter is the main reason for me to make the dough. Like it or not, fermentation is magic. Okay, I'll end it here today. See you soon.
The word you are watching sounds like Doogh.
Doogh.
Doogh. Doogh.